Hey guys, Ricky Widmer here from Most Valuable Podcast. You're about to listen to a little bit of our primetime podcast that we recorded this week. Make sure to go to Blog Talk Radio /Most Valuable Podcast for our full-length podcast that you can go ahead and download. I hope you enjoy it. I know me and Brandon did recording it.
This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up, everybody? Ricky Widmer here, along with the one, the only, Brandon Swanson.
Hey.
And we are back for another episode of the Primetime Podcast here on Most Valuable Podcast. If you're on YouTube, hello, guys. It is great to see your faces again. If you're on Blog Talk Radio, iTunes, or Stitcher, thank you guys for giving us the listen, the download, however you may be listening to us today. And Brandon, like I said last week, we're all football now. We are a college football podcast from now until basically the national championship game. Sooner rather than later, we're going to start in June and July, start to get our previews going for each conferences and kind of diving into everything that's going on. But this was really the beginning of the season. Spring games were happening all around. We're going to talk about Clemson's spring game. They have a quarterback controversy, if you do not know that. We're going to talk about Auburn in the SEC they've got a new quarterback in Jarrett Stidham that really wowed fans in their spring game. And then we're going to kind of end the podcast with a general overview of some teams that me and you think need to prove themselves in 2017. But Brandon, we're going to get right into it. I'm going to set the stage for you. We're going to talk about Clemson first here on the podcast. And the question I want to come in with is, should Kelly Bryant be the Clemson starting quarterback in 2017? Because you look at the spring game, and I know this is the time of the year where we see the spring game and we overreact to it, but Bryant comes out, he injures his tendon in his pinky of his throwing hand on the first snap of the game, decides to stay in because, he's a gamer, he's a competitor. But I look at the rest of the quarterbacks, I look at Israel, I look at Cooper, and I start to think to myself, yeah, Dabo Swinney might have said that, hey, Bryant's our starter if the season started today, but the real question is, should he be? Should Kelly Bryant be the starter for Clemson?
I think after you take a look at what he did in the spring game and then what kind of he's done over the course of his career, which spans 2 years, he's now going to be a junior. He's the veteran of the group of, it seems, aplenty. I mean, you take a look at who else is in there. You've got a 4-star recruit from 2016, Eric Cooper. You got the number 2 quarterback prospect, Hunter Johnson, and for 2017. And those are 2 guys that are there. Then you've got Kelly Bryant, Chase Bryce, and Tucker Israel. You've got a group of 5 guys right there that you can choose to pick from. And I think that why Dabo Swinney is probably saying right now at this point, again, there's plenty of time until football season's actually going to start officially, but he's probably going Kelly Bryant because he is the guy who has been there the longest. You want to give that to your senior leadership, quote unquote, senior leadership. And I think probably because they may have thought, you take a look at last season, Kelly Bryant was not even the number 2 quarterback on Clemson last season. He was the number 3 quarterback, and he was behind Nick Schuessler, and they believed that he should be the number 3 quarterback because they believed that Schuessler was just faster with the offense, would be able to make more split-second decisions like that, whereas it was going to take Bryant a little bit longer. So maybe they believe that he's made the stride to be that guy who can carry the offense and make those split-second decisions and make those quick decisions that need to be good decisions where you're not throwing, it's the difference between an interception or a touchdown. And maybe they do believe in what they've seen that Bryant can be that guy now. But I think that you also have to understand that Zerrick Cooper and with then this number 2 quarterback prospect in Hunter Johnson, that these guys, they're going to have potential too. They're going to be good, or at least they hope that they're going to be good. Now Clemson, if you remember, they've hit on back-to-back good quarterbacks. They had Taj Boyd, then they go right into Deshaun Watson. So Clemson's going to be hoping that they can do it again with another quarterback, that they can have a nice, smooth quarterback handoff from Watson to insert whoever you'd like, because they've got 5 guys.
Well, and really that's the one thing to me that Kelly Bryant should have going for him at this point is you are the veteran of this team. You are the upperclassman. At this point, after being with Clemson for as long as you have, you should be able to know, A, how things work, B, how a Dabo Swinney offense works at Clemson. And I know that it's going to be vastly different between him and Deshaun Watson because they're 2 totally different players. But I look at it and I think to myself, you know what? It's one of those things where I might want to give him a pass on this spring game. And the reason why is when you have the tendon that he injured in his throwing hand, and then you go ahead and try to play with it, obviously it's going to be hard to complete passes and actually play to the best of your ability. If it's a regular season game, I don't think they would have. I'm actually surprised they let him go with that injury here in the spring game, because if I was a coach, I'd be like, no, get out. I don't want you hurting yourself, injuring that tendon anymore, especially because it's in his throwing hand. But I look at the other quarterbacks, and like I said, Israel and Cooper are really the only ones that, after looking at the spring game, could kind of fight Kelly Bryant for that job. Israel went 13 of 19 in the game, 94 yards, and had a score of his own. And then Zarek Cooper split time with the other freshman, Hunter Johnson, on the white team. He went 11 of 18 and had 81 yards in the spring game. So both of them had not great performances, good performances, solid performances for what they are, especially Cooper being the freshman. But I wonder if, and I'm going to look at Zarek Cooper, I wonder if he, from now until when a starter is officially named, is he going to separate himself a little bit, and maybe we get a situation, and when I say this, I want to preface it with I am not comparing him to whom I am going to say. I'm just saying the situation could be similar. Does he separate himself enough to where it's a Jameis Winston and Sean McGuire situation, where Sean McGuire was the upperclassman, but he was the backup to Jameis Winston? Do we get a kind of situation like that? Because either I look at Cooper, but Israel could do the same thing. Do they separate themselves and kind of take the job away from Bryant by the time we got to name a starter later this season?
So, Ricky, I'm going to bring a couple of things at you here, so
Okay.
Stick with me.
Okay, I'll try.
The first one, and I'll go slow for you.
Okay, thank you.
Like
Thank you,
I usually try and do. So the first one, is a quote, and it's from the Clemson quarterbacks coach Brandon Streeter, and he said, "Quote: Day one in spring ball, Kelly Bryant is the guy, but it's open. Kelly deserves it. He's earned it. He's matured and has done a great job over the last 2 years. When he came in, he was more of a runner, which we all know. I put the all know in. He has developed so much as a decision maker, as a thrower. He brings that versatility to the table. He's the best athlete we've got," end quote. So he's already getting praise from the quarterback's coach, who's making sure to state it's open. It could change. But right now, he is their guy. Bryant, when he came in, he was a 3-star recruit. He got offers from Florida, Ole Miss, Georgia Tech, Duke, NC State, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, and Appalachian State. He was the number 14 dual threat quarterback as rated by 247 Sports. One spot behind guess who?
Who?
Heisman this last year.
Lamar Action Jackson.
One spot behind Lamar Jackson. So that's pretty good. That's some pretty good company to be in, just one spot behind him. For Zarek Cooper, he redshirted as a freshman in 2016, and he's competing for the job. He was a 4-star recruit. He got offers from Ohio State, Ole Miss, Virginia Tech, Louisville, Miami, Wisconsin, West Virginia, and Mississippi State. So these guys, one a 3-star recruit in Bryant, one a 4-star recruit in Cooper. Both of these guys got offers from numbers of other schools, and some of them overlapped with the schools that they got offers from. These guys shouldn't be schmucks. You know, you would think that they're not just, They are good. And we've known Bryant as a runner from his time that he's been there. We don't know much about Cooper yet. Well, I'm sure we'll find out. But I think right now, Dabo's doing the right thing by saying, you know what? I'm giving it to the veteran. I'm giving it to the veteran guy, the guy who's been there, the guy who has stayed here. He deserves the opportunity. He's going to give it to him. But that's not to say that he doesn't get the opportunity. It would be an unfortunate situation, isn't able to do much with it. And that's when you then turn it over to next man up. And is that Cooper? Who knows? But I think that it would be out of character for Dabo Swinney if he did not give this spot to him, at least as of right now, say that Kelly Bryant is the starter.
Well, what's going to be interesting to me, and while you were saying that, the thing that I thought of is really Clemson has two options they could do on offense. They can go, you know what? We know what the offense is. We had that type of quarterback that fit our offense last year in Deshaun Watson. I know that he's probably a better talent than any of the quarterbacks that they have right now, and they would love to have Deshaun Watson back if he had another year of eligibility that he didn't go on to the draft. I know that it's one of those things where they want him back. But the thing I look at is it going to be a situation where we see, I think of like Oregon and a little bit of Florida State, where I look at guys like E.J. Manuel, and then you look at Jameis Winston, you look at the type of quarterbacks that Chip Kelly had and Helfrich have had at Oregon. Really, they're not all carbon copies of each other, but they fit a similar mold of what the other guy who came before them was. Oregon never had a true pocket passer before Mariota. They all had these quarterbacks that can kind of throw, kind of run, and they were just phenomenal athletes. You have to in that fast offense. I looked at E.J. Manuel and then Jameis Winston. Both could run, both could pass. They both fit the same mold. But then you go ahead and look at a team like Alabama, which up until this year, I would describe Alabama quarterbacks as pocket passers. You look at the pantheon that they have had, they were pocket guys. You never expected them to get out and run. Then enters...
And he didn't want them to get out and run.
Then enters Jalen Hurts, where it's one of those things where it's like, did they tailor the offense and say, you know what, we're going to run more? No. But it's one of those things where the offense for Alabama last year kind of morphed a little bit, kind of was a little, to me, kind of loosey-goosey, where it was like, you know what, we're going to let this offense kind of shape and mold around Jalen. We're not going to have this mold and kind of force this triangle into that square circle. We are going to let him kind of be in it and then just let the offense kind of form and make what it is around him. And that was a credit to Nick Saban. That was a credit to Lane Kiffin, the offensive coordinator. Clemson's kind of in that same situation. Do you pick one of these quarterbacks to where it's, they fit our offense, let's go. They fit the mold, we're putting the triangle in the triangle hole, and we're going to go and run our offense? Or do they say, you know what, we like this quarterback, although he might be a little bit different than what Deshaun Watson was, but we're going to let the offense kind of mold around him? That's, to me, the kind of fork in the road that Dabo Swinney and Clemson kind of have to make for this year.
I think that one of the things that Dabo may like and Clemson might like is because they have been kind of treated to a dual style threat quarterback for so long with Deshaun Watson, is that maybe you want to continue to try and do that if you can. And because it seems to win, right? I mean, that's what it did for Clemson. They won the national title this past year with an exceptional quarterback, but also he had other really good weapons around him. But I think that
Mike Williams and Gallman being two that are gone.
I mean, it's certain, and those guys certainly helped. They certainly helped. But I think that you also want to look at, do you stay consistent with that if you can? If you can, you've been working with a guy who's been dual threat, but you also have to remember too, every quarterback is going to be different, and they're going to be, how much is whoever they put there. Let's say it's Kelly. Let's say it is Kelly Bryant, and is he going to be lean 60 run, 40 pass, 60 pass, 40 run, and work with them on that, and it sounds like he has developed more into a passer, which is good, which is based off that quote by their quarterbacks coach. And I think that's something that they have to look at too, kind of like where you said, or tailoring the offense to Jalen Hurts, and not necessarily doing that, not tailoring the offense to him, but being okay with there being more running out of the quarterback if he's making plays and if he's scoring points and making things happen. I think that's maybe where Dabo's coming from, and hey, we've got a guy here who's got a very similar game and he's the veteran. This could work out very, very well for us. Let's go with him. I've seen his progression. And these coaches, they all know obviously better than us. We're sitting from the outside. We're not at their spring ball game. We didn't get to see that.
Which I'm saying, Dabo, where's the invite, man? I thought we were buddies.
Yeah.
I thought we were buddies. Where's the invite to the spring game? But that's besides the point.
But that's, they know their guys obviously better than we do. Duh.
Yeah.
But I think that we have to go based on what obviously they're giving us. And Dabo Swinney, I don't think he's a guy who's going to BS you. He doesn't seem like that type of guy. And you know him well, obviously.
Dabo and the boys, baby.
But I think that he's gonna be straight up with you. And I think right now he definitely is looking to go with
Kelly Bryant.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to say Hunter Johnson, but that's not who he's going with.
No, he did not have a good spring game.
So, but he was for a while the number one quarterback recruit until he was passed up by a Stanford commit. But I think that if he can stay with a guy who's got similar style of game that Deshaun Watson has, that would kind of be ideal. And I think you also want to go with a guy who's, I don't want to say that a non-dual threat quarterback is bad, but college football is seeing a lot more dual threat quarterbacks, and they're seeing them be successful.
And the thing that also helps is, I didn't mention this last week when we talked about Louisville and we talked about Lamar Action Jackson. We had some Clemson fans kind of get a little irked. I want to say at me, but at us, because we didn't give much respect to Clemson's defense. I just kind of said, you know what, I think Louisville wins that game, and I just kind of brushed right past it. And what we're talking about today is the reason why, if I had to pick a winner right now, I would go Louisville, because Louisville has to me, the toughest position to find your answer at. I mean, it's a little bit easier in college football than it is in the pros, but it's one of those things, if you do not have a surefire quarterback, you're at a disadvantage in the football game unless your defense is like historically good. Like I'm saying historically good. Almost and the thing that made Alabama so special last year before they lost to Clemson was not only was the defense historically good, they had a surefire quarterback at their position. It was one of those things where Jalen Hurts came out and surprised us. And can Kelly Bryant, because you kind of get the vibe from me that I'm not vibing on Kelly Bryant right now. I'm very much question mark about this starting quarterback situation for Clemson. But what could help whatever quarterback they do, if it's Bryant, if it's Cooper, if it's Israel, what could help them is this defense. This defense only lost four starters from last year, I want to say. And the biggest one to me was Ben Boulware, who they lost. I think it's Carlos Watkins, Ben Boulware, Jackson, and then Tankersley are the biggest losses for this defense. They return a lot of guys to this defense, and that could help whatever quarterback goes in there. So that's why you may see this Clemson coaching staff kind of give a little bit of leeway to not a Hunter Johnson. Now you got me on Hunter Johnson. No, on Kelly Bryant. They might give a little bit of leeway because it's like, okay, you know what? Let's give him a game. I wouldn't be surprised if Kelly Bryant starts game number 1 and then kind of determining on that, then they make the real decision of, is he the guy moving forward, or do we make it and nip it in the bud right there and put one of the other guys in? I think Clemson's a team. I think Dabo Swinney's a guy that whoever he starts day one, they're the starter all the way through, unless they're injured and can't play. He just doesn't seem like a flip-floppy guy to me. But to me right now, it has nothing to do with the ability of Kelly Bryant. I am just right now questioning this quarterback position, and I feel like in order to answer the question that I answered at the beginning, should he be the starter, I feel like it's a wait and see, and I hate to do that to you guys. We had a question. You guys wanted an answer. I'm going to say if I had to give a yes or no, I'll give a yes, only because he's the upperclassman, but it's a wait and see for me until we get that definitive, obviously, because I don't want to overreact to a spring game where the only reason in my mind he didn't play as well is because he hurt a tendon in his pinky on his throwing hand. But what about you? If you had to answer the question today, yes or no, or are you on my side? We got to wait and see, and you hate to do it to the fans.
I mean, I think right now you go with Kelly Bryant because of the fact that he's been there and because of the fact that at least he's gotten a little bit of time there. Mm-hmm. He's the veteran guy, and I am of the mindset that unless you've seen something just wow, that wow factor from somebody else that you're like I don't want to do this because I know you're the veteran, but. Mm-hmm. We believe that he will give us a better chance to win, that whether that be Johnson, whether that be,
Cooper,
anybody. Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, Bryce, whoever. If they don't give that wow factor though right away, I think, you go with Kelly Bryant. So that's who I would go with right now. I think that there's got to be more time has to play out, more games have to occur, more practices. Stuff like that has to occur before I can fully say yes, but I think as of right now, that's who I would go with. One little tidbit that I want to say, something kind of interesting. Trevor Lawrence, dual threat quarterback out of Cartersville, Georgia. He recently committed to Clemson for 2018, and by some, they're saying that he may be the most physically gifted quarterback of the future quarterbacks to be at Clemson, and that could be very, very interesting, and he committed on December 15th of 2016. So that it could get more interesting at Clemson
guys like
as
Johnson
we move forward. Yes. So once Kelly Bryant is no longer there, then when he gives it off, who's he giving it off to? Mm-hmm. So I think that. Clemson, they may be going more dual threat quarterback in the future. It may be even, 5 years down the road.
Well, and this is where we're going to turn on to you guys like we always do. We give what we're talking about, and then we turn on to you to complete the full triangular discussion here on the Primetime Podcast. Let us know down below what you guys think. Should Kelly Bryant be the starter? Is there another quarterback on this team that should be the starter over Kelly Bryant? Let us know down in the comment section below. Well, thank you guys for checking out this video from the Primetime Podcast. If you want to check out more, click right over here. The video's right over here. Check it out. Check it out. Check it out.